I mean, there was a time, July 4th, she was having her family over. I was holding the child. She said she was going to go out and like get some ice because we were hosting them for July 4th. I was holding my child, was having a really cool moment. He was taking a nap. I was laying down on the couch. And I told her, I said, I'm going to be right here when you get back. And she just kind of did a smirky, scoffy kind of giggle, walked out the door, came back, and I was in the same spot. I didn't lie. And so she got really upset that I wasn't entertaining her mom and aunt while she was gone and while, you know what I mean, this thing had all started. And she blew up. And she wouldn't have blown up like that if I hadn't acted the way that I did when she was
right. But like, I respect the hell out of you, especially being on screen, being able to acknowledge, you know, your fault in it. But was it also partly her? Was there like postpartum depression involved with her? Her reaction?
I guess you'd have to ask her, right? Do I think there was postpartum depression? Yeah, but when you have so many other things that are going on at that time, what can you really place blame on?
Sure.
No, I mean, it's just we came to the situation we came to, right? That's just ended up being where it was. So fast forward to let's see, the housing market had slowed down significantly, and it started to become hard for us to be able to kind of get the bills paid. And I think it got to...
Because you're still doing refi, you're doing like mortgage brokerage.
Yep, I got to the point where I was doing refi. And then I actually had to find a new job because the housing market's dried up so much, especially refinance.
Yeah.
Because I did refinance only. And if you're doing refinance only and COVID happens and the rates drop significantly down to like 2.5%, and then rates jump up like a year later to like 4 or 5%, well, you're not going to be able to get anybody to refinance their house again to add a home equity line of credit when they have a 2.5%. You don't want, you can't tell them they're going to get a 4% or 5%. Sure. They'll say, no, I'm not going to take that. I have a 30-year mortgage at the lowest rate of all time. There's no way that's going to happen. So it dried up. I lost my job. So I got a new job. I did okay at that job. But it got to the point where funds started drying up pretty significantly. And it got to the point where at the very beginning when we were starting things, I asked her how much she could afford. She told me how much she could afford. Eventually, it got to the point where she was giving me half of what she could afford on the day that I needed it, and the other half like a week and a half later. It got to the point where like I was like, listen, like it's really tight, really tight. I really need that full amount on that day.
Yeah. But she's working right now, like at the time. Like.
Yeah. She's got her own job. She's working as well. This entire time, she's had a job. She actually changed jobs and didn't tell me, but that's neither here nor there. So she has this new job. She's able to pay me what she's able to pay me. She did the exact same thing again. And at that point, I decided that it was just not worth it. So I got extremely upset and angry. I tried very calmly to let her know how much she disappointed me, or not disappointed is the wrong word, because it's like I let her know what was going on. I let her know I needed what I needed so we could be able to continue to live in that place, and she still completely let me down. So I literally lost trust in her. I was able to get it taken care of.
Setup, like you wanted your kid to be
Oh yeah, but at the same time, just more or less like we were on a lease for so many months. I just wanted to make sure that we just had everything paid for, right? And things were just getting tight because of the situation we were in, so wasn't able to do it. So I was like, yo, like I need this money at this time. Didn't come in. She did the exact same thing, and when I was able to like gather myself, I brought her like downstairs and I let her know that I loved her. But this last time, what she did, like how much I needed that, I tried to break it down very calmly to her, and she completely flipped it to, again, having no accountability, and then basically saying that she should have been more on top of me and making sure that I was able to pay everything in the timely manner that we were going to. And that's when I lost my shit. Because it's like, I told you how many times that I needed this particular amount of money at this particular amount of time. And because you didn't get it is the reason why I had to ask a family member for money to take care of what I needed to take care of. So I've lost trust in you. And that's what that whole conversation was supposed to be about.
Yeah.
And she flipped it. And when she flipped it, I flipped out. To the point where I underhandedly hit the wall. And what I mean by that, I mean, audience, not, but more or less like underhand, hit the wall going down. And then she basically said that that's, physical violence and you just need to leave. So I was like, you know what? Yep, you're right. I'm going to leave right now. So that's what I did. I picked my stuff up and I left. And that was in, I want to say February. So baby was born in May. By the time February came along, we had 2 months left on the lease. I think that we moved in there in April, March or April. So we had 2 more months left on the lease. I called her the next day. She said she's moving everything, her stuff out, and she's moving back to her mom's.
Damn.
And so she left me, of course, with the rest of the rent. I was tight before. Needed her money before. This time she's moving out. She basically said deuces, kick rocks.
Yeah.
And left me with the entire rent and everything.
And she took your son?
Yeah, but I was still getting him 3 days a week.
Okay.
So at this point I was getting him Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday. And then we got back together again. Then a couple other big issues came up. Within a matter of 3-4 months, we were back to essentially being broken up, and I was the one who did it that time, and I was comfortable and happy. 3 months later goes by. She becomes very cold when you're no longer in her spectrum. When she doesn't need to have a relationship with you, she chooses not to. She's a very private person, so she holds her cards very close to her vest, and she holds the people close to her as well. But if you're not in her inner circle, then you're not in her life.
Right.
So when she's no longer with somebody romantically, it doesn't matter if you have a child with them or not, she now turns on you as if you are nothing to her. Literally. So coming across that's just very tough. Around September, I was able to charm my way into her good graces, and we decided that we wanted to meet up, and she let me know that she had been intimate with somebody over the time that we were broken up. And I basically had realized at that point that I really would like us to see if we can be able to make this a family, much more so than anything else. And so I was like, all right, that's it. The fact that you've had relationships that makes me feel like I don't want anybody else to help raise my child. It makes me feel all of these.
Tell me about that. You had to go from he was born, living at your house,
yeah,
as a family unit, and then how old was he when you split? When she took him, and then you had to see him every other day, basically.
He was, when we split, we got back together. Let's say we split up in February, we got back together in March, we split back up in probably June. And then we were
He's
probably
a year old?
He was, so he turned a year in May, and then in June we split up again.
So all this, before he's a year, so at a year and before even, all of a sudden you have to share custody?
Yeah.
So what was that like? Because I know...
She was just very cold. She would bring him all the time that she needed to bring him. She was an amazing mother.
But you spend the night with you at your spot?
Yeah. Yes.
And then, what would you feel, what would you feel when he's not in your house?
So there's always a feeling of, there's a feeling of remorse that you didn't make it with his mom, but there's naturally a feeling of just missing more or less than anything else. Just this feeling of separation. Yeah, it's like this gap. It's like your heart's out there walking around, you don't know where it is. It's really weird. But at the same time, this is where I think that I at least succeeded with her, is that I know that she's a good mom. Mm. So at no point do I feel that she's putting him in a bad position. Right. I think that when she has him, her number one focus is him. Mm. and her daughter at that time. I don't know how things are now. Like again, she makes it even more of a separation.